Hello and welcome to Let's Talk. I'm Joyanne Kelly, and with us is our very distinguished guest, a gentleman with an impressive list of credentials, attorney at law, founder of the Clement Payne movement, former head of the Commission for Pan-African Affairs, one of the key Pan-Africanists in Caribbean politics, need I go on, author as well, and now he is His Excellency David Comissiong, Barbados' ambassador to Caricom. Ambassador, it is such a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Ambassador, what is on the cards for the redoubling of efforts to make any improvements necessary for the air and sea connectivity of our countries?
Well, good question. I mean, we're in something of a crisis, especially with the collapse of LIAT. I mean, it's still operating out of Antigua, but it's a shadow of what it was before. And now that, you know, after COVID and travel has restarted, we recognize what a predicament we are in. We have made a lot of mistakes over the years, because you remember, we started this integration movement with a couple passenger carrying ships. We established the West Indies Shipping Company. We allowed that to go out of operation. So we lost that maritime capacity that we had as a regional movement. We had LIAT. We had, and I won't put Barbados in this. I think Barbados tried very hard over the years to support and finance LIAT, but regionally enough was not done to preserve LIAT. Now it has collapsed, and now we find ourselves in this crisis situation. There are two things that we need to do, that we are trying to do. We know that we need a fast ferry system, and Prime Minister Motley has undertaken a lot of responsibility for trying to get the investment to establish a fast ferry system within our region. And again, you know, COVID interrupted some of those efforts, but they are back on stream, and I'm pretty certain that soon from now we're going to hear something very definite about the investment for such a fast ferry system. At the last Heads of Government conference in Suriname, our heads of government acknowledged that where air transportation is concerned, we are either going to have to really revive LIAT, or we're going to have to create a new regional airline. So it is as serious as that. But either one of those, whether we create a new airline, whether we really resuscitate LIAT in a significant way, that's going to take time. That's going to take time. So I guess the best that I can say is that we know what we need to do. The initiative for the fast ferry is advanced, and we recognize that we're going to have to bite the bullet with the air transportation. We also made a mistake along the way in putting taxes onto the government's taxing airline passages for travel between the islands. We recognize now that that was a mistake. We would like to correct the mistake, but a number of the governments depend heavily on those taxes. So the question has been, if they remove the taxes, where could they get replacement revenue? So that is the big issue that they're tussling with now as well. So it's not an easy thing, but we're trying.
Ambassador, can you outline any further commitments made to the continued preservation of the environmental integrity of our Caribbean Sea?
Well, that takes us into the work of the Association of Caribbean States. The Association of Caribbean States, which is really Caricom plus the countries of Central America that border the Caribbean Sea, Central America and Northern South America, because Venezuela, Colombia, but the Central American countries that border the Caribbean Sea. we have something called the Caribbean Sea Commission. And the Caribbean Sea Commission is the institution of the Association of Caribbean States that has responsibility for the protection of the Caribbean Sea. We have been trying the ACS, the Association of Caribbean States, and its Caribbean Sea Commission has been trying through the United Nations system to have the Caribbean Sea designated as a special area within the context of sustainable development, and to get the UN not only to designate the Caribbean Sea, a million square miles, our Caribbean Sea, as this special area to be sustainably protected and developed, but also to come up with the resources that we need to carry out that mission. So I think this is something that is the Caribbean Sea and the protection of the Caribbean Sea. It is important to all of us because this is our heritage. But it is probably better approached by the Association of Caribbean States rather than Caricom, because the Caribbean Sea goes beyond the reach of Caricom. Barbados has a very big interest in preservation of the Caribbean Sea. We now have our Ministry of the Blue Economy. I was recently in Belize, our Caricom member state. Barbados is at the eastern extremity of the Caribbean Sea. Belize is at the western extremity of the Caribbean Sea. And so Barbados and Belize have pledged to collaborate on issues pertaining to the Caribbean Sea. So yes, a lot of work to be done there. We need to protect it. We need climate change. The Caribbean Sea is one of the seas that is most subject to the negative consequences of global warming and climate change. And a lot of the advocacy that we are engaging in now to get the resources that we need, that countries like Barbados need, to adapt to climate change and to mitigate the negative effects of climate change. If we can get those resources, some of those resources can go towards protecting our Caribbean Sea.
Ambassador, what has been the driving force that has driven you in your life's work?
Well, I would say a sense of mission, a sense of purpose. My life has been mission driven. Somewhere along the line, I got this notion that your life is to be lived for a purpose bigger than you, a mission bigger than you. I'm the son of a Methodist minister of religion and his wife, and so that idea of that human beings are sacred, and human beings must be protected and nurtured. That idea was instilled in me from very early, and I am very committed to my people, my country, my region, to the Pan-African family, and so this is my life's work. This is the mission that drives me, and I see all of those commitments as being interlocking. So I'm a proud Barbadian. At the same time, I'm a proud citizen of the Caribbean. At the same time, I'm a proud member of our wider Pan-African civilization. And for me, they're all interconnected. And so I desperately, passionately want to see Barbados succeed, just as I want to see Caricom succeed and our wider Pan-African struggle be a success. So that is what drives me. That's what keeps me going day after day.
All of us have regrets at some stage in life. What would you say is the one thing that you may have regretted?
I would say that looking back at my life, I would say you have to get that balance right between your public life, your public duties, your public activism, and the private sphere, the family. And looking back, I don't think I always got it right. If I had to do it over again, I probably There's some things more attention that probably I should have paid to that side of my life, the family, the parents, the children, the wife. But you, as a public person engaged in activism, politics, you tend to sacrifice a lot of the personal side of your life, and it's really about getting the balance right. And sometimes I got it right, but sometimes I think perhaps I didn't get it quite right. So I would say that would be the one thing.
Okay. How would you describe your proudest moment?
Well, my proudest moments are wrapped up with my children. I have some beautiful children that really make me very, very proud. But if we are talking publicly, I would say that the events of the 27th of November 2021 and the 30th of November 2021, and I put the two of them together, I can't separate them. 27th of November, we officially opened Golden Square Freedom Park as an integral component of our move towards a republic and our celebration of the republic. And then a few days later, we had the Republic ceremony on the 30th of November. Those were very, very proud and fulfilling moments for me. My entire adult life of activism centered around Clement Payne, the story of Clement Payne, Golden Square, the importance of Golden Square. So Golden Square was like a 30-year project for me, and to see it fulfilled in such magnificence. And of course the Republic, for my entire adult life, I have been clamoring for us to become a republic, to take full control of our own sovereignty and self-respect, and stand on our own 2 feet. So those were very, very proud moments for me, and I have this commitment that the republic must be a success, and we must all work at making the republic a success.
What has been your greatest achievement through Caricom?
Okay, I have been in this position now for 4 years, 4 months. COVID came and kind of dominated the Caricom agenda. When COVID hit, we all had, I think Caricom performed magnificently during COVID as in response to COVID, but it was a response that had to do with self-preservation. It had to do with how do we respond to this pandemic, how do we get vaccines, how do we protect our people, how do we get the testing done. The regional security system in the early days had to be flying blood samples into Trinidad so that CARFA could do the testing at the Caribbean Public Health Agency. So yes, I think we performed magnificently in our response to COVID, but it did take us away from things like building the CSME, issues of trade, etc. The thing, I think for me, the thing that I feel most proud about is the people-centered components of the Caricom agenda that we have managed to implement or to take forward. So I'm talking, for example, of the Caricom Skills National program, the work that we have done, how we have expanded the categories, and the role that Barbados has played in leading the way in terms of expanding the categories, putting those expanded categories. So for example, we now have security guards, we now have agricultural workers that we have added to the previous 10 categories. The work that we did in bringing into being the protocol on contingent rights. That's a protocol that says that if you move as a skilled national or as somebody setting up a business, that your wife and or your spouse, husband or wife, and children can move, dependent children, and they're entitled, to be accommodated in the school system and in the public health system, etc. So I'm very proud of the work that we have done to take forward that aspect, that people-centered aspect of Caricom's program. And part of that, making Caricom more people-centered, we managed to accomplish things like organizing the Caribbean private sector, for example. The Caribbean, so we now have the Caribbean private sector organization, and integrating that as an associate institution of Caricom. So they are now at the table, they are now involved in all of the discussions. Similarly, the labor movement, making the Caribbean Congress of Labor, making the Caribbean Congress of Labor an associate institution of Caricom. But although, truth be told, I would like to see the labor movement be more active and do more as an associate member. Taking steps to bring the youth, Caribbean youth, more centrally into Caricom. So, for example, now, before you have a Caricom Heads of Government Summit, there's the Secretary General and the Chair of Caricom has an engagement with our young people, and their ideas, are filtered into the Caricom decision making. I would like to see us go a step further and have a Caricom youth organization as an associate institution of Caricom with their own seat at the table. But those are the things that have pleased me no end. Feel very proud Barbados, our Barbados Accreditation Council. We now take pride in taking 1 week in approving Caricom in issuing Caricom skills certificates. Yes, sometimes it take more than 1 week if there's some factor, complicating factor. But if it's a straightforward case, we have come down to accomplishing that task of certifying, giving that person the Caricom Skills National Certification within 1 week. And this is all about facilitating our people. Caricom only makes sense if it is serving the people of the region, and the people of the region feel that they're getting benefits from it and they see themselves reflected in it.
What is a legacy that you would like to leave behind? How would you like for people to remember you?
Tell the truth, I've never really thought about legacy and being remembered. I do think I have a legacy. I think that the 38 years that I have been part of the public life of Barbados, making contributions, helping to positively evolve our sense of Barbadian national identity, our culture. I think I have made contributions. Some people will recognize those contributions. Some people may overlook them, but they're there. I think that will be my legacy. I think it will be a lived legacy, to the extent that the efforts that I have made in helping to develop this Barbadian nation, helping to develop the consciousness of our people, pushing issues of justice and self-acceptance and self-pride, and the need to have a sense of self-determination and sovereignty, to the extent that those efforts have impacted positively on our society and made a positive impact, to the extent that Barbados succeeds. The Republic of Barbados succeeds. The Caribbean community succeeds. All the efforts we are now making to come closer to Africa, that those efforts succeed. Then when I have left this world, I'm off this scene, future generations will be living and experiencing some of what I contributed to, and I guess that's how I would think about legacy. I know in Barbados we tend to forget people very quickly. You know, people make tremendous contributions, then they pass, and we tend to forget them so quickly. One of the reasons that I've been writing publications like this. I mean, I've done something on Mr. Barrow. I've done something on Clement Payne, Kamau Braffett, my own father. I would like us to become a country that remembers people and remembers the contribution that people make, because by doing that, I think we are doing something very important. We are holding up before ourselves exemplars, role models, you know, that we need to be guided by and to be inspired by. So I hope that Barbados becomes more of that kind of society. I hope that we don't just forget a George Lamming, for example, who passed just this year, or Kamau Braffett. That we become the kind of conscious society, you know, that is conscious of where we have come from and the people who have helped us on that journey, and that we develop a very, very strong and rooted sense of national identity.
What more lies in store for Barbados through your work, Ambassador, as this relates to Caricom? What does the future hold?
Well, I would like to see us, I'm very conscious that our Caribbean region is probably the most colonized region in the world. You know, we live in independent countries, so we tend to think that our region is independent. But we have American colonies, British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. We have French colonies, Martinique, Guadeloupe, French Guyana, Dutch colonies, St. Martin, Curacao, Aruba, British colonies, Cayman, Turks and Caicos, you know, British Virgin Islands. And I would like to see us consolidate our region as a totally decolonized, independent, unified region. I want us to be a Caribbean civilization. Caricom, I think, should be the foundation and the core of it. But I think we have an unfinished mission to decolonize the Caribbean, to unify the Caribbean. Yes, we may not become a political union like a United States of America or like the Confederation of Canada. We may not achieve political union, but every other type of union we should unity we should achieve. You know, economic integration, functional cooperation, collaboration in every way possible. So that is my dream. That is my dream. My dream is of a strong, independent, sovereign Caribbean civilization that takes its rightful place on the world stage. And I think we are making moves towards that, you know. And for me, the Barbadian people, I want the Barbadian people to be like the pioneers of Caribbean integration. I want our young people to be, you know, so well equipped with a sense of mission that they will undertake the responsibility to build this region, to build this Caribbean civilization. I have a lot of belief in the capacity of the Barbadian people, and I'm looking forward to great things from Barbados in building our Caribbean civilization.
Thank you so much for joining us on this program, Ambassador.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This brings us to the end of our program on Let's Talk. Thank you for watching.